And one of those that filled that survey, right? One of the things that came back was that it's just like we've said, right? Even though money is the issue, and that's why in some surveys money might not come up, right, to that number 3, because money issues are solved when there's no communication issue. Sometimes both of them are pretty much overlapping one another. Money issues come from a lack of communication, right? Because don't forget, these 2 guys that people marry are different, right? For them to become one, there has to be communication. They have to be naked to one another. They have to understand who you are, who I am, and who we are, right? Again, in every relationship, in every marriage, right, there are 3 people. Those 3 must exist for that marriage, for that relationship to be life-giving, to be healthy, right? If only 1 of 3 exists or 2 of 3 exists, that marriage is not life-giving, it's not sustainable. For your marriage to be sustainable, to be life-giving, to be healthy, there must be 3 people in it. It must be you, me, and we. And all 3 are important and must be well-fed and well taken care of. Because if you don't do that, something is dying. Something is feeding fat at the expense of something else. And that is not sustainable. Something is going to crack. Something is going to give up, right? And that's why people at old age just, you don't know someone has been hurting all that while, and suddenly the person voices out, and you're surprised, right? It's because you didn't take care of either 1 or more of these 3 people that are in every marriage, every relationship, right? For it to be sustainable, all 3 must be taken good care of, right? You, me, and we, right? We must not obliterate you and me, right? Because our marriage does not obliterate our personality, right? So communication is important, right? And typically, again, communication is because these people are different, right? They have different values, different goals, which don't need to necessarily be obliterated. Don't forget, your goals, my goals, our goals. All 3 must find their place, right? Because H1, it needs to be fulfilled, and we needs to be fulfilled also, right? And so we'll touch more on that later. So, I mean, if you have stress financially, maybe you're not able to pay your rent, your children are at home, they can't go to school because you can't pay school fees. You don't know where the next chop money would come from. Obviously, that's going to bring stress upon the relationship. It's going to bring stress upon the individuals, right? And that results in fightings and all of that, and other things can come as a result of that. All right, so all right, we've pretty much spoken all of that, but most of this can be resolved, right? When there's communication, there's planning, the differences are taken away, right? And we have Dr. Alex here saying some things, and he talks about the foundation of anyone's understanding and relationship with money is based with their family origin, right? And that's what we've done, right? Coming from chapter 1 to chapter 12, we've talked about how different things affect our money imprint, right? Our value, our goals, our desires, our beliefs around money, right? The first thing we said is our origin, our upbringing, our family, our community, and lastly, our society, right? All of that, as we grow up, we've built what we call a money imprint. We've built a personality, our own money personality, the way we see money, the way we relate to money, our beliefs concerning money, right? And then both of us have done that from 2 different places. Even when it's similar, our interpretation of the similar things we're seeing are different, right? Don't forget, we say again, it's not what you're looking at, it's what you see, right? That changes your life. It's what you see that motivates you, that directs you, right? Two people are looking at the same thing, but they see different things from that thing, because what we see is a function of our paradigm. Our paradigm, right, is function of our experience of life and our interpretation of that experience of life, right? So it's important then, because we're coming from two different backgrounds, two different understanding around money. You see, that's another reason why we need to discuss. We need to discuss between ourselves. First of all, we need to know ourselves, because one of this, you can't even discuss if you don't know yourself, right? You can't discuss if you don't know yourself. That's why at the beginning we said this financial empowerment is parallel to self-discovery. Before I can tell someone else, share myself with someone else, right? Because when we start beginning to understand ourselves, what I share is to the extent to which I know who I am. If I don't know my goals, I'm not able to share with my partner my goals. If I don't know my values, I'm not able to share with my partner my values, right? If I don't have my vision, then there's nothing to share. If I don't have my dreams, there's nothing to share, right? Because an understanding of my dreams, your dreams, right? And then create for ourselves what is our dream, right? All three are needed for us to be, for our relationship to be sustainable, to be life-giving, right? So communication and pretty much communicating with one another from who we are, right? Again, that brings to mind, I believe that's habit 5 of Stephen Covey. He talks about that we need to understand before we seek to be understood, right? So each spouse makes it a point of duty to understand your spouse, right? Because until you understand your spouse, then you cannot be expecting your spouse to understand you, right? When you understand your spouse, then you're able to communicate who you are better to your spouse, right? So all of that has to do with the communication that needs to take place, right? So that we don't have money issues, right? We can also put heads together, right? Like we typically say, 2 good heads are better than 1, right? For us to have that synergistic encounter relationship between ourselves, right?